Yes, guys, how's it going? Spurs Related here, and welcome back to another match preview. This time, Brentford away tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. UK time. And as always, I'm joined by Andre of Spurs Related, and today, especially back, we got Joseph McBride. It's always good to have him back. How's it going, fellas?
Great. Excited to be back. Brentford, some big players coming back, one specifically, but we'll get into that.
Exactly that. And Joe, how you doing, mate?
All good. A rare cameo now, but I've appeared from the dark, come out the cracks, and here I am.
Yeah, it's obviously good to have you back as always, Joe, but it's also going to be good to review that controversial prediction you made at the start of the year that I'm sure we will review, and it's looking very close. I mean, we all predicted top four for Spurs, and you predicted Arsenal very controversially on our social media, which caused the stir, but was an interesting one for engagement for sure. And we're looking forward to reviewing that, and it's getting a bit close for comfort, isn't it?
I said it was, the fact that I was very confident, you were also, against it. I'm not going to bottle it to say, but the fact that it's got this close obviously shows that I knew what I was talking about a little bit. Seeing as I was, I at least a good 3,000 comments saying, what am I smoking? Who is this guy? And everyone's kind of scared now, so we'll see.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
scared.
very close.
Yeah, I'm scared.
You're scared.
Yeah, I'm scared. It's Spurs. I've only been watching them for maybe 6 years, and in those 6 years, I've already noticed this pattern that we have to give the fans hope, and then you take it away right at the end. So
yeah, you gotta get used to that one, Andre. That is a common thing. But listen, let's get into things. Let's get into the Brentford game, and as always, as we know. As already Andre said, we have a returning face that we're very familiar of. The man Christian Eriksen, a legend of Spurs. Went to Inter Milan, won a trophy as most players do when they leave Spurs. It's kind of the curse. He's back at Brentford, probably not winning any trophies, but listen, he can cause us some pain in terms of potentially taking some points away from us. And I believe there is a stat that since Eriksen's played, Joe might be able to correct me on this one. Since Eriksen started playing for Brentford, I'm pretty sure they haven't lost. Is that right, Joe?
Every game he's started, they've won. The one game they lost is when he came on with about 40 minutes to go.
Wow. So there you go. Won every game he started. That is some stat, and he really has changed the dynamic of the team. Obviously, they beat Chelsea 4-1 at Stamford Bridge, which is an unbelievable result, and had a couple of amazing results since then. It's just incredible. I think they beat Watford in the dying minutes last week. It's just incredible the form they're on. I'll start with Joe. Joe, what are your thoughts on tomorrow's game? Obviously, don't give us a score prediction yet, as you know that's at the end. But how are you feeling about the game in terms of for Spurs' chances? And do you think Eriksen can kind of haunt us?
I think Eriksen, he's had to make good impact. He's got the one goal, which thankfully was at Chelsea. But it's what he's brought to the team. And, being in training with a guy like that must lift everyone. And Brentford were underperforming. They had a lot of players out injured. So the fact they've all come back it's all kind of merged into one as to why they're playing so well right now. I would be worried a little bit. Obviously, the loss last week was a bit of a shock, but it was off the back of like 5 wins. So you're definitely in form, and it is in your hands, whereas it was in Arsenal. So that's still something to take away. But Brentford have got a really good record against the Big Six this year. I know that they got a 3-3 against Liverpool. They caused Chelsea loads of problems. They obviously beat Arsenal earlier in the year. They're not a side to underestimate. And the fact that, Tottenham are coming off the back of having not even a shot on target last game, they're going to be a bit worried. And Brentford definitely aren't afraid to play. So I think it's definitely one for concern. But I do think, Tottenham will have enough on the day. And they're also probably helped by the fact that, Brentford were looking really kind of in a difficult situation. They've absolutely smashed it in the last kind of couple months. And now it's pretty much they're safe. They're not going to go down now. It'd be an almighty swing if they were going to go down. So there may be that kind of sense of, relaxation from Brentford, and let's just go out and enjoy it as opposed to like, we have to get something here.
True. But sometimes, like you said at the end there, maybe a bit of relaxing, but also playing for fun. But also sometimes teams, when they're relaxed, do almost play with more freedom and better football. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, for sure. But they do play a very good way, and they've been a lot better. Obviously, we went to the game together actually at home where Tottenham won 2-0 and Brentford were woeful. They had nothing. But you know, at their home ground, even though it's relatively new, they seem to be really good and really difficult to beat. But I just think, you know, Conte's going to rally his troops for this one, especially as, you know, you're going to hope that, you know, quite rarely anyway, that Manchester United turn up on Saturday. Sorry, it is Saturday, and you know, come Sunday, you could be, you know, 3 points ahead with that extra game now, and you know, you're smashing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right about the going to there. They kind of built up a bit of an atmosphere at this new stadium. It's quite a compact little stadium, but they've got a good atmosphere there, especially maybe on a night game. I know it's a 5:30 kickoff, so yeah, I agree with you on that. It's a really tough place to go. Before we go over to Andre on his initial thoughts on the game, how rude of me. I didn't welcome in the Spurs Relatables, slap myself on the wrist. Ayanami's in here. He says, COYS, big yourself up, Ayanami. As always, really, really do appreciate you joining. He says, Eriksen, since Sonny's our number 23. Eriksen, yeah, there won't be any of that. Actually, no, I reckon the Spurs fans will sing that tomorrow, actually.
100%.
Bobby K saying, big up, lads, COYS. Big up, Bobby K. Pleasure to have you in here, mate. Who else we got in here? Louis says, big up, Louis. Hope you're doing well and hope you're looking forward to the game tomorrow. Ayanami saying, at least we have a full week with Conte this time. Yeah, absolutely. That was part of the problem. I mean, it's easy to make excuses. They lost against Brighton. No one played well, right? But I think
no golf tournaments either.
What's that? Sorry?
No golf tournaments either, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, exactly. No Kane going off to Augusta, exactly. But I mean, not having Conte at kind of close quarters training sessions may have been a problem. So I guess that is a point, Ayanami. And he said, my friend took me to a match and the stadium was absolutely... Oh, you went to a game. Absolutely brilliant. Love it. Was that your first game? Let us know. But that sounds brilliant, mate. It's an amazing stadium. I mean, even I think Joe will be happy to admit when he went in there for the first time, he was like jaw drop kind of moment. But it is a beautiful stadium. There's no denying that, right?
It's a great NFL ground.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Bobby K said, I want to see Eriksen score a 65-yard free kick tomorrow, but a Spurs 3-1 win. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried about the goal difference. That's one thing I want to say is our goal difference is far superior to Arsenal. I can't remember how many, but it is a lot stronger. I think it's plus, I want to say plus 16, our goal difference, maybe plus 17, and Arsenal's and Man United's is single digits plus. So, you know, we've got the goal difference on them, should have it till the end of the year unless Arsenal and Man United win by a lot, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I said, yeah, the location is a bit awkward. Tottenham is, yeah, it's a little bit, you know, northeast London. It's not really central or anything like that, but I guess, yes, it's a little bit of a nightmare to get to. But listen, let's go over to Andre. Andre, what are your thoughts on tomorrow? Are you feeling confident? And do you think Eriksen could be a bit of a pain?
Well, I'll say this, just quickly reiterating the goal difference. We're actually at 18. Okay. Arsenal's at 10, and Man United is at 4. So we have a good amount of a goal difference, but let's not take it for granted because we need to keep winning, or else that goal difference won't mean anything.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly that.
But what I will say is with Brentford, they have been a good side, honestly. Especially right now. We will go over a couple players soon, as we know, the 3 key players to keep up. Andre's 3 selected players. But I will say,
you just branded it there, have you, Andre?
Oh, yeah, I will, because I select them most of the time. But I will say sometimes, yes, James is the one that helps me out on that one. Everybody, he's the expert for most of this stuff. He's been watching football a lot longer than I have. So don't, I might be selecting them, but James is the expert here on most of this.
Oh, listen, Andre, I wasn't trying to take anything away from you. I was just wondering if we have a new brand name for the segment of the show. I thought you'd kind of maybe got your sponsor in and everything, Andre, Anyway, let's get into these Andre's player picks.
Perfect.
Andre, over to you, really, to go through the first player, and then maybe we'll get Joe's thought on that player and whether they could be a real problem tomorrow.
Yeah, well, you know what? Let's start off with the one guy we have been talking about so far. Let's start with Christian Eriksen. Good player. Of course, no one doubts that. Has he been in the same form as he was a few years ago? Probably not. Did we think he would make a huge difference coming into Brentford? no doubt whatsoever. He's come in. He's won in 5 of the 6 matches he's played. Brentford has won. As Joe said, the one game they didn't win was the one where he didn't start. But other than that, at the moment, from 6 matches, he has 1 goal, 2 assists, 81 pass completion, 67% tackle success. But let's face it, he's normally up top anyways, making all the key movements around the middle of the park. And as most people will say, a lot of games are won in the midfield. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think I was just gonna say about Eriksen, coming in. I didn't expect him to make a huge impact because obviously I was, as unfortunate as it was and as sad as it was, obviously when you have that health issue that happened, that big health, um, heart problem that happened in the World Cup, in the Euros, then I'm starting to think, will he ever be back to his best? And I was thinking, you know, let's just hope he's near it. And you know what? He's actually far outweighed what I thought he would contribute. He's been absolutely brilliant. And maybe you're right, Andre. Maybe he hasn't been quite at the level we saw at Spurs in his prime, but you got to remember he's also, I believe, I think 31, 30 years old now. So he's probably past his prime anyway. And the fact he's contributed so much to Brentford in the 6 games he's played, I think it's phenomenal, and it's just so good to see. But obviously, got to say at the end, I hope it's not against Spurs where he kind of puts in his even better performance than he did against Chelsea. But yeah, maybe over to Joe with his thoughts on this one. Obviously, like you said, Andre, 1 goal, 2 assists in 6 games, already a goal contribution every other game so far is very, very good in that Brentford team. Over to Joe. Yeah, what do you think, Joe?
I don't think anyone saw this coming. Otherwise, no disrespect, he wouldn't be at Brentford. He wasn't allowed to play for Inter because I can't remember exactly what it is. I think it's called an ICD. He's got that device fitted in, so he he's an automatic defibrillator if something happens. And Serie A don't allow that, so they had to terminate his contract. That was in, I think it was potentially October, November, and obviously he got signed on deadline day in January. I don't think anyone anticipated it, and it was what I assume is they've got a big Danish connection at Brentford. So I'm assuming they obviously speak to the doctors of the national team and they probably were like, he's fine. They've taken a punt and they're probably now ruined the fact that they didn't give him a longer contract. I'm pretty sure he's only 6 to 12 months max. So
6 months, yeah.
Yeah. So the end of the season, pretty much, he's done. So, he could, repay the faith in Brentford and, give him another season in the Premier League. But I think there's going to be a lot of teams circling for him now because, he may not have had, insane impact in terms of statistics, but to lift the team like that, and let's be honest, it's a newly promoted team and still look that good is an incredible effort. And I think he's unbelievable and could still do a good job at a decent European side.
Right.
Yeah,
well, when you think about it, he played in the Premier League for so long. This is his home, right? Look at Coutinho. He came back. It's like he never left. He had a hard stint at Barcelona and it was hard for him, but then he came back here and it's just like old ways. So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
He's lives for the Premier League vibe. And and in
obviously
the summer at the moment,
issue.
I'm pretty sure Leicester and Tottenham are both sort of keeping an eye on him from what I've heard from Fabrizio as well.
Obviously with a heart issue, it's really bad, and players before haven't played again, and that could have been the same, but it wasn't. But he was cleared to play, and players with ACLs and injuries like those are out for longer than he was. This is what you got to remember. He's not going to lose that cognitive part of his game. It was just potentially other parts, but he's come back and smashed it, and I think everyone is rooting for him, same as everyone was rooting for Denmark, same as everyone was rooting for Leicester that year they won it. He's kind of got everyone on side, so I'd be happy if the Spurs fans were cheering his name tomorrow.
Oh,
They definitely will.
will happen. And it's also like you were saying, Joe. Sometimes, obviously, most of the time, a player, if they've had an ACL injury or a really nasty muscular injury, they're gonna be out long. But also at the same time, it's a miracle. This is his heart. This is what keeps everything going. This is one of the major organs. It's incredible that he's back fighting fit. He's playing in the top league in the world for a decent enough team, a decent team. I'd say Brentford are, getting on for almost a mid-table team the way they're playing at the moment, and it's just amazing to see. I really do think it's special, and I hope he has a good game tomorrow. But obviously, the main thing is hope we win. But it'd just be nice to see Eriksen play again against Spurs for the first time.
Also, Conte, you know, he was his manager at Inter last season. Like, it's going to be an
nice.
emotional one for him as well. Like, it's going to be because he was, you know, if you saw the press conference, he did a nice bit. You know, sent him quite a powerful message and how happy he was. And it's going to be a weirdly kind of like family friendly, lovely, you know, heartwarming game. Obviously, probably not the best thing to say, but like you got to remember as well, like there's so much at stake. So I don't know how long that will last.
I will say though, we got to pay respect to all the medical team that's dealt with Christian Eriksen and helped him recover so quickly, because he would not be here if it wasn't for them. So
yeah, that's true. That is spot on. Yeah, 100%. What do you think of Ayanami saying might be a player for us in the future? I think we should observe carefully. I mean,
sure that's what I'm pretty sure that's exactly what Spurs have been saying to Conte.
I mean, yeah, for me, I just think, and I've said this about you know, the other players that used to play for us and have then been linked back. You know, obviously like Bale, even Modric. Like these players left and went on to do, you know, amazing things. Obviously a little bit different with Eriksen, but even still Eriksen went on to win Serie A, right? So they all went on to do amazing things in their own ways, winning trophies. But I just think with Eriksen, his final 12 to 18 months with Spurs, he just didn't want to be there. He didn't put in much effort. I went to a few games and he was walking about. And listen, obviously we know what happened, and you know there's that sentimental part of it too. But I just think with players coming back after there was a reason they left, I just don't like that. I don't like the, oh yeah, let's get this player back personally. But I think the only one I'd scrape it for is Bale, just because I think he is still honestly really, really, really good. And I think he loves the club. And I'm not saying Eriksen doesn't love the club, but it's just that final 18 to 12 months that really got to me. I don't know what you guys think on this one.
Let's have Joe talk about it first, and I'll have my thoughts on that.
I wouldn't. I mean, Conte likes going for, you know, experienced players in their best right now, and so it makes sense for that. And he's worked with him, and you know, it's a kind of different project for him now, even though there's the same intentions there. It's, you know, a different feel. So there's kind of that part of it. But yeah, I kind of side with you of maybe not going for the, you know, the old and kind of leaving that at the door. You know, Liverpool, like we could have signed Coutinho multiple times when he was looking for a way out of Barca, and we didn't, because we sold him, we reinvested, we moved on. You don't backtrack, you know. But he still has a lot to give. So I don't think it would be. I think it's one of those. I think some people would be against it, but if it happened, they're not going to complain about it.
Exactly.
I'll say this. I'll say this. The two factors I even mentioned for Bale: wages, mentality. If he's going to be way overpaid, don't bring him back.
I just don't think he will, though, because Brentford, I think this one's different because Brentford could afford him, right? And we're better off financially than Brentford. So I think Bale requires like sort of what 150 to even 300k a week. Like I know he's on even more than that at Real Madrid, but Eriksen, I don't think would be even near that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think he's probably on, I'm saying he's probably on anywhere between 50 and 100 on Brentford at a push. I don't think he's even over 50, 60. I don't know what Joe thinks on this, but I just don't think you can pay that much at Brentford for a player like him.
Well, I also, you're making facts. Those points are there. That's why I say wages is important here. You have to weigh how much he's going to contribute to the team versus how much you're paying him, and you don't want to be overpaying him, because the whole reason that we're getting rid of a bunch of players and having a very small depleted squad right now is because we would rather have a depleted squad where all of them are there mentally and they're going to fit his system over having this player who is a brand, but will he contribute much? Which comes to my other point, mentality. Does he want to be here? Is he going to give everything for Tottenham the way he was in previous years? Will he fit the Conte system? Will he adapt? Those are key factors in bringing him in. Will he be a player that's going to fit Conte's system perfectly? Because if he's not, as much as I would love to see him in a Spurs shirt again, I don't want him to sort of finish his career the same way that it was at Milan, to be honest, where he wasn't a star player there until maybe around the end. I don't want him sitting on the bench all the time. It's sad to see. I would rather have him go to another team where he's going to get the best out of that team, no matter where he goes.
Yeah, I think that's a fair reflection, Andre. I really do. Let's maybe move on to the next player now, Andre. Another familiar face, but obviously not an ex-Spurs player. Do you want to go through this one?
Sure. So is this the one you're talking about right now?
I was actually thinking it was the other player coming next, but again, this player hasn't played for Spurs. Maybe not as a familiar face as I was thinking it was going to be next.
Yeah, so this is Brian Mbeumo, right winger, 33 matches, 8 goals, 7 assists. 1 goal and 4 assists in the last 5 matches. So he's on fire right now. But his pass completion and his tackle success is much to be desired. 69% pass completion, 68% tackle success. So it really is just, if you get him in front of that net, he might score or give it to someone else to score. So we need to be on our A game when it comes to defending, which isn't always the case for us. What do you guys think?
Just quickly, I think Joe will probably back me up on this. Like we said, we went to the home game, and this guy was actually doing all right for them at the start of the season. And then he played against Spurs, and honestly, I'm not even over-exaggerating. It was one of those performances where I was sat there in my seat thinking, this isn't even a Premier League player. Like, this guy was poor that day, that night, and I think Joe will agree with me. And even Tony was out of the game as well. And to be fair, credit to Spurs, like we oversaw them quite easily in the end, 2-0. They didn't really threat our goal at all, but he was poor, like heavy touches, misplaced passes, and yeah, you're right, Andre. Like in the last 5 games, he's got 5 goal contributions, but I just don't think he's that good. I know I'm going to regret saying this. I'm probably going to get clipped if he scores or whatever, but I just feel like he's not, he's not as good as Ivan Toney, for example, and he's not quite at that level. But I do think he can be, when on form, obviously from the stats, he can get a goal contribution or 2, but I just think that when I saw him live, I just thought this guy isn't that good. But let's see what Joe says.
I agree he wasn't good on the day, but I pretty much disagree with everything else.
Okay.
Other than Eriksen coming in now, I think he's pretty much their best player.
It's exactly what I'm thinking.
I think he's very good. And I know that his pass completion didn't sound good, but obviously the way Brentford play is, counter attack, so they're trying to force balls quite often, so and then it'll want to come off. He had a bad day against Spurs, but they all did because they turned up pretty much trying to go for a 0-0 and just holding off. They didn't really offer anything. It wasn't great, but as I said, they had so many injuries that have kind of come back now. But I think Tony's great and everything, but he's great because of this guy. I just think he's awesome, and I think you definitely need to watch him. And the fact that you couldn't contain Trossard at the end, this guy's similar with what he can do in the box. So I think he's one of their best players, and he's definitely the one to keep an eye on.
I would agree. I also think that this Mbeumo and the next player we're about to talk about, the reason they're doing so well right now, the form that they're in, is because of Eriksen. And then everyone else stepping up because of him. So we really do have to watch out. This is not the same team we faced last year. This season, obviously, but last year. Which brings me to my next player, Tony. Ivan Toney. It's not a surprise. The center forward, 32 matches, 14 goals, 5 assists, the top scorer. In his last 6 matches, he scored 6 goals and 2 assists. He's on fire, and I'm pretty sure at the moment he has most duels won in the Premier League this season at 241. The most closest one after that Wood at 231.
Wow. Wow, so 6 goals. Sorry, Andre, 6 goals, 2 assists in 6 games.
Yeah.
I think 2 or 3 are penalties, but he's been on form, yeah. He scored a
hat
hat-trick.
He scored a hat-trick, didn't he, in one? Yeah. That was away somewhere.
And I think him and Mbeumo assisted each other, either against Chelsea or there was another game, but it was class.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is
pass completion, tackle
scary.
success is pretty bad here, though. 59% pass completion, 54% tackle success. But you know what? Who cares? If he's going to be scoring the goals, that makes him a very dangerous player. He seems to be in the right positions. Don't give him any penalty opportunities. And of course, watch out for all the players as a collective, but watch out for him to sneak in there. And James and Joe, how our defense for some reason likes to line up in a way where a player just zooms past all of them, makes them look foolish, and then scores.
Yeah, that's why I'm worried about Mbeumo. I'm not surprised about the duels because I watched him play and they literally pump it to this guy. You know, the first game of the season when Arsenal got absolutely destroyed by Brentford, it's because Ben White was marking Ivan Toney. And Ben White, it was his first game. He's not the tallest guy in the world. I think he's about 6 foot, which, you know, is relatively tall, but for a centre back in the Premier League, it's not. And Toney just absolutely outbodied him for the whole game. They whip it into Toney. He either lays it off to Bueno. Huh?
Yeah, you're right. He like knocks it down. I remember that first game they were kind of punting the ball up to him, weren't they? And he was knocking it down for Mbeumo. You're right.
Bueno, Canos, Norgard in the middle. Like he's the kind of the guy. He's the pivot, and you know that's why Mbeumo thrives, because he plays into him and he can do what he does. So it's going to be interesting to see who's kind of like, you got to have someone pretty much man marking Toney, or at least in his vicinity. Romero is probably the best one for that, but he'll probably get a yellow card. So it depends what you prefer. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough. Quick one from Toxic Headshot without digressing. Welcome in, Toxic Headshot. I hope you're doing well. He said, have you seen reports of Conte going to PSG? I have. However, I am not going to be, we're not going to be talking about it today, just because A, it's a preview, and B, it's not a tier 1 source yet. We have seen the sources, but they're not tier 1 in terms of our tier 1s for Spurs related social medias. So obviously there's a little bit of a concern there, but I don't think I'm going to panic too much until it's tier 1, and then we can talk about it and maybe do a video. But I hope that clears things up. A&R saying they have a lot of Scandinavian players, which indicates a massive aerial threat. That is true, especially their defence, right? They've got Norgard, did you say, Joe? Was one.
Norgard's midfield. They got huge Pontus Janssen at the back. He was one that scored the last minute header.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they scored 2 headers against Liverpool in that 3-3.
Yeah, exactly. That 3-3 was mad as well. I've seen reports of Conte going for PSG for months now and have been true. It's not true. Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't really want to touch on it too much this video. But Andre, amazing research as always, mate. I'm sure the Spurs Relatables were loving those stats, and I'm actually still a bit gobsmacked about that 8 goal contributions in 6 games. That's a little bit frightening, I can't lie, with how, like you said, how leaky we can be at times. Shall we get into maybe the injury news and then the head-to-head records?
Yeah, of course. Let's get to all those head-to-head forms and everything. So let's talk about these last 5 games first. It's been a while. Clearly, look at that. 1998 is like the last 5th game that we've played. Unbelievable. I don't think I was watching Spurs at that time. I will confirm that right now.
Yeah, and a lot of 2-0s. I know you're going to go through them individually, but a lot of 2-0s. Last 3 games went 2-0. I mean, maybe that might help some people's score predictions at the end of the video. Who knows? But without stealing your thunder there, Andre, sorry, go back to what you were saying. Sorry.
Well, I mean, the last, other than the last 2 that are relevant, the other 2 are more so for pride, I would say. Because I'm sorry, I don't think anyone who played that September 26, 2000 game is here, like playing in the squad. And if they are, I mean, cool, but they're definitely not. But in the last 2, we've won 2-0 both times. So consistency, very nice. One was obviously that Carabao Cup semifinal, where I'm pretty sure Sissoko scored one of them. I do remember that because Sissoko scoring wasn't always a thing. So, and then in this most recent one this season, it was a 2-0 win as well. Do you remember the goal scorers, any of the 2 of you?
Ben Davies, did he grab one?
Who?
Was it own goal? Is either Ben Davies or an own goal for the first one?
That's right. Yeah, it was an own. You're right. It was an own goal. I want to say, yeah, you're right. It was definitely an own goal because we thought it was Ben Davies because that's what the screen put up, wasn't it? So, and then we were like, it's an own goal. And then it was Son, wasn't it? And he did the spider Son celebration that you didn't like.
Yeah, I tried to forget that, but thanks.
That's when, like, Spider-Man film had definitely paid, Tom Holland and co had definitely paid Spurs and Son to do that. And there was all that social media, collaboration going on. But, yeah, it was definitely Son. But I think you're right, Joe. I think it was an own goal as well. Ben Davies robbed of his goal. What was that, sorry?
Moving on.
Yeah, just quickly, my thoughts on the head-to-head record. Like Andre said, maybe too long ago to even, take into consideration the 3-2 and 0-0. But and the other 2-0. But certainly the last 2 games we played them in the cup, and then in the other game this season, both 2-0, both at home. I just think it's different when you go away, especially at that stadium. Like you said, Joe, they drew 3-3 with Liverpool. They beat Arsenal 2-0 there. They've had some big results at that stadium, and
It should
that
have
is what
drew
concerns me.
Chelsea too. It was 1-0, but Mendy had an unbelievable game.
That's true as well. I can't remember how they did against City there.
I think that was close as well. It might have been a late Foden goal.
Yeah,
No one's really excelled there.
exactly. Which is what's concerning me. I don't think they've taken a beat in there really, like properly. So that's what concerns me. So although I'm thinking, well, surely 2-0, but I'm really not thinking 2-0. And we'll get into our score predictions imminently. But what do you think, Joe, on this form? And do you think it, like I'm saying, it's you kind of only have to judge the last 2 games really?
Yeah, you can't look back to 2000. I mean, the stats are good and it's nice to see. But like in terms of current squad, like obviously the only recent ones are the ones that are relevant.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be an intimidating one because obviously the 2 games have been at home. You've played a team that are just about to come up from the Championship, and then a team that have come up, and you're going to their ground now, a new ground as well. So they're going to be really up for it. Obviously, it's the first time a lot of their fans there probably have seen Tottenham if they haven't gone to the away game. So it's definitely going to be a good atmosphere, especially for a London derby, which other than Chelsea, they're the best performing team against London teams this year.
Wow, good stat there. I like that. Oh, I don't like that because it kind of worries me more. But I like the stats. Let's maybe talk about Tottenham and Brentford's form, not against each other, but their form going into this game, Andre.
Sure. Let's talk about Brentford first. At the moment, they have scored 9 goals in their last 5 matches, and they've let in 4 goals. So that is a pretty good record, to be honest. And let's not forget about the goal scorers we talked about. And in terms of their last 5, they've won 4, lost 1. They lost against Leicester, and that was 4 games ago. So in their last 3 games, they've won. So let's put all of that into perspective against Spurs, who most recently lost a game that honestly most of us thought we were going to win. So
yeah, true.
But what we will say is at the moment, Spurs' goal difference on paper looks good. 14 goals in the last 5 matches and only 3 let in.
Yeah. Do you know what though, Andre? The last 5 games, 14 goals. That's brilliant. I'm only looking at the last game and just thinking that is our form. That is our Spurs form. That is our current form, and that's what concerns me. The fact we didn't score against Brighton, the fact we were woeful. We didn't even really look like scoring for 180
Yeah, what was
minutes.
the only difference you think? Just Conte not being there for training throughout the weekend. I guess Doherty fully missing, no?
I just think that the lack of desire from the players, like it didn't even seem up for it. They didn't seem. Yeah, you can blame it on Doherty, being injured. We got to forget about that. Yeah, you could say about Conte not having as much training time, as hands on. But I just think also like you got to just think the players just got out tacticked, outrun by Brighton. Brighton were up for it more. And I just think we have to start on the front foot because of the amount of times I've said this on podcasts and we don't. Against Newcastle, we were the worst team in the first half. Against who was it where we ended up winning by quite a lot, but we were awful first half again. Yeah, it was Newcastle, and we won the game 5-0. Awful first half. Villa, awful first half. Should have been 2-1 down at half time if it wasn't for Lloris. So we're probably going to be saying the same on the review tomorrow, Andre, that, bad first half from Spurs, maybe good second half, hopefully. But I don't know what it is this first half, Joe. What do you think?
It happens like that. I know you probably hate you bringing up. I think it was maybe under Emery actually for Arsenal. I think it was the other way around. They were really good first half and then couldn't do the second. I don't know if it's a mentality thing, and it's maybe with a Conte, they don't go out right, or they kind of lose their way, and they always come out better after probably quite a rustling at half time from a very passionate Italian man. So it's a shame that they need that. But you were saying about the fact that they might have been affected by him not kind of being around before the Brighton game. If they can't get going until the second half and a half-time team talk, then maybe there's some truth in that. I'm not sure. It's all mentality. It's all it's all a mind game at the end of the day, because you can play the same football, you've got the same players, you've got the same objective. But you see it so often where a team will really start playing like in the 70th minute, and you're kind of like, where has this been all game? Why now? It just happens.
True. Very true. Yeah, very true. Like you said, mentality, and definitely it makes a difference at halftime. But it's a shame that they need that halftime to get that,
It is.
rocket to send them, motivated again. But I think that's all to say about Spurs at the moment. It's up to them to prove us wrong, and whether or not that will happen, we'll obviously get score predictions very, very soon. But Andre, before we do get into those score predictions, and Joe and Andre get those score predictions in your head, let's talk injury news very, very quickly. Andre, who's out for Spurs and who's out for Brentford?
Let's see. So for Brentford, from what I've seen, Zanka, the center back, he's got an adductor injury that's been ongoing, and he'll be out to the he's out till the end of the season, so he won't be playing. And I believe Onyeka, the center mid, will also be absent from an ankle ligament injury. Ethan Pinnock was injured, but I think he played last game, so he's fine. And Sergi Canos, I believe, is also back, or he might be getting checked before the game. But other than that, they got all their big players that we just mentioned. They're there. So we got to watch out for them. Spurs, I mean, it's the same three players that have been like this for a while. Doherty was recent, so we'll start with him. Doherty with his knee injury out till the end of the season. Skip with his pelvic injury out till who knows when, but he just signed a new contract, so good on him. Hopefully he comes back and he's the same player, if not better, as time goes on. And Tanganga, of course, with that injury to his right knee that keeps just keeping him out. I don't know what's going on with Tanganga, man. Man's always injured. And Joe, I know you had things to say last time you were here about him, but that's the injuries from what I know.
Got you. Thanks for the update, Andre. And hopefully Skip plays before 2027, because he keeps getting told he's going to be back, and then he's not, and then he's going to be back, and then he's not ready yet. And I'm not sure what's going on with that. But Joe, maybe what were we saying about Tanganga? Joe's thoughts on Tanganga?
You don't on him. I thought it was Tanganga because they haven't changed.
Okay. Let's skip that. Let's skip over that very quickly. I think there's only one thing to do now, and it is score predictions time. You guys know how it goes. Pop your score predictions in the chat if you're watching live, or if you're not watching live, pop them in the comment section and let us know. But today, I know you guys have already got them in your head. I'm going to start with Andre today.
I'm going to go with a 3-1 win for Tottenham. I think that it'll be a crazy game. It'll be very tight at first, and then eventually Brentford will let up a little bit, and that's when we'll go in there and score. I do think that, personally, I think Brentford are going to score first. I think that's going to be the big kicker that's going to get Conte yelling, especially at halftime, probably up in their face, telling him, do you want to make top four? Then get out there and play the way we've been playing in the last few games, not the Brighton game. And they'll go out there and they'll score their 3 goals. I think that Ivan Toney will score the goal. And I think that Kane's son will score twice and Kane will score once. That's what I think. 3-1 win.
Love it. 3-1. Fairly confident, actually. But like you said, maybe a slow start, and then a Conte talking to, and then 3 goals to Spurs. Son 2, Kane 1. I like it, Andre. I like it. Before I give mine, and then we read out maybe some in the chat that are starting to trickle through, over to Joe.
I'm going to go with 2-2, which isn't going to go down well, but I just think it's going to be a cracker. I think there's going to be something in it. I too think that Brentford will score first. I'm going to go with Mbeumo, and then we can clip up James. Kane will get a nice equaliser, and then I think you'll even retake the lead, probably through Son, and I can just see a big Pontus Jansson header, 2-2, kicks off the top 4 again.
Who's getting Spurs' first one?
Kane.
So you gone Kane, Son.
Kane, Son, Mbeumo, and Pontus Jansson header.
Wow, that is incredible if you managed to call that, especially with the obscure Pontus Jansson call made from a corner. And I can see it happening in a way because, as Andre and I have discussed many times on these match previews, Spurs cannot defend corners. And we've actually got lucky from corners recently. But let's see. I've seen one score prediction in here from Iron Army. He's gone 2-1 Eriksen, Son, and Bergwijn off the bench for 2-1 Spurs. And
that'll be the script that he scores, won't it? It will
Yeah,
be.
it would. He said, let's just hope we don't get stung. But I think it's in the script. I do think that Eriksen is going to score. I don't know why. I mean, I just think, I guess what Joe's just said there, it's in the script. It's kind of the fairy tale, Eriksen scoring and it being a nice return. But unfortunately for Eriksen, I do think it is going to be 2-1 Spurs. I think we're going to scrape it. I'm going with Iron Army on this one. I think Kane will score. I can see a penalty. We haven't had a penalty for a while. I do think that is quite likely. And I think Pontus Jansson has got a bit of a hot head. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. I think he can dive into tackles a little bit.
Yeah, he used to play
Maybe.
for Leeds, so
Yeah, there you go. That's why I remember it. And I do think I just think Kulusevski shocked me last week, and I think he's got a point to prove. I can see him scoring. So I'm going Kane and Kulusevski and Eriksen for them. 2-1 Spurs. That's why I hope, like, just even a point wouldn't be good. 2 points dropped in this title race. Crumbs. It basically is our title race. That's as bad as it gets.
Jesus.
For this top 4 race, I think if we drop 2 points, that's a real problem, especially with Arsenal, beating Chelsea on Wednesday, which was annoying. And, Man United are probably going to win. Well, no, Man United are playing Arsenal, right? So,
Yeah.
One of them's going to drop points. That'll be interesting to see. But, just we have to win. We have to win. And if we win, and say it's an Arsenal Man United draw, then we go 2 points clear of Arsenal. It's as simple as that. But if we slip up, we just can't be doing that. We can't be doing that, especially with the big games coming up. Guys, I think that is all we got time for. And I'm saying they've got giant players.
That Danish connection, yeah. They're very tall.
Very tall. Yeah, corners. Let's just not talk about corners till maybe the match review tomorrow if we have to talk about them. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. Spurs Relatables, thanks for all your comments in the chat. Appreciate it. It was a bit of a short notice stream today, so maybe not as much promotion as normal. And appreciate you guys that have stopped by and left some comments in. Really do appreciate the talking points. Andre and Joe, thank you very much for joining me, lads.
Well, thank you. I'm always glad to be here. Talk about Tottenham.
No, obviously, absolutely class. Andre will be back here for the match review after. Joe, you're always welcome to join us for the match review as well, but I believe you maybe can't. You got work, so
work
you probably be,
unfortunately.
Yeah, you'll probably be commenting in the chat saying.
If it's 2-2, I'll make an exception and drop in.
But Joe, it's been good to have you back as well, mate.
Cheers for having me back. Always a pleasure being back here, fellas.
Legend. And guys, as I said, please do like the video, subscribe if you're new, and comment your score predictions in the comments after the video if you get to this point. Have a great evening, guys. We'll see you for the match review tomorrow. And as always, remember, COYS Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Joe, you gonna say it as well?